On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we take a look at a Friends with Benefits comedy, the first of two released in 2011, and coincidentally the one that's not titled Friends with Benefits. It's No Strings Attached with Ashton Kutcher, Natalie Portman, a pretty stacked cast, and it's directed by Ivan Reitman, his first movie he made since My Super Ex-Girlfriend, and some might say it's a return to form for him. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk about The Way Back, which... no, it's not the Ben Affleck basketball drama, although Ben Affleck is in a movie this weekend. The Company Man, along with Tommy Lee Jones, Kevin Costner, Chris Cooper, and Maria Bello. So we'll take a look at those three movies coming your way next here on Time About the Movies, January 21st, 2011.
Happy holidays.
We are getting laid tonight. This is going to be like Sideways, except that you're Paul Giamatti, and I'm the guy that gets laid. I can't get laid?
10 years from now, you're going to be having sex with your wife, and one of you is going to be asleep. I want to see other people.
I thought we were seeing other people. I've been seeing a lot of other people.
We do this so one of us feels something more?
Well, it won't be me.
It won't be me.
Good luck with that.
No Strings Attached. Rated R. In theaters this Friday.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three new releases on January 21st, 2011. And we're starting off with our first movie here, Ivan Reitman's No Strings Attached, which we talked about some pretty bad movies to start the year off. We haven't had as many, some little gems here and there that we had in past years, but we haven't had any this particular year in so far. And needless to say, this is without a doubt the best new release of the entire month, and it's not even close. And it's actually a really good comedy, a comedy that probably could have done much better had it been released in another month besides January. But, hey, we got it when we did, and it turned out to be a really damn good movie. You have Emma, played by Natalie Portman, and Adam, played by Ashton Kutcher, who are lifelong friends who have sex one morning and worry about their friendship being ruined. They make a pact to have no strings attached, to have casual sex without falling in love with each other, and of course, we all know what's going to happen by the end of this movie. They're going to eventually get together. It's that type of romantic comedy, but it's weird. I had just seen Natalie Portman deliver an Oscar-winning performance in Black Swan, and this is the type of movie where they're putting it out in January, they're putting it in the midst of awards season, and we saw what happened with Eddie Murphy a few years back. You know, he was up for Dreamgirls, he was considered to be the front runner for that, and then Lorber came out, and then, yeah, that immediately evaporated any possibility of him winning the Academy Award at that point. Even though I did really like Alan Arkin winning the Oscar for Little Miss Sunshine, but still, you can see what happens when an actor stars in a terrible movie and it completely ruins their chances of winning an Academy Award. Anne Hathaway was another example of that, with Bride Wars, coming out when she did Rachel Getting Married. Hugh Jackman will follow in the same fate a couple years from now with Les Miserables. A great performance where he should have won an Academy Award for that, but then someone decided, we're going to put out Movie 43 instead, and completely botched that person's chance of winning an Academy Award. I mean, that was pretty much it for Hugh Jackman at that point, but I was watching the movie, and I really ended up enjoying this movie, and it's a film that I enjoyed it back then. I still enjoy it now, because it is one of those really good, fun romantic comedies that takes a concept that's been done to death before so many times, and it does something that is genuinely very appreciative. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of chances with it, but it's a comfortable film. Like, it's a film you watch, and it's just like, this is comfort food for me. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying the chemistry between Portman and Kutcher. I mean, they're really working off each other so well. You never doubt for a second that they're not giving it their all they got here. They're making it work. I mean, Ashton Kutcher, this is proof that he's not a bad actor overall. I mean, he's proven time and time again how good of an actor he can really be. And this would be a big year for him because, you know, not too long after this, he would be the guy that would eventually replace Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men, which I'm not one of those people that likes the Charlie Sheen 2.5 Men more than most people do, but I mean, at the Ashton Kutcher era, it really wasn't his fault that those last couple seasons were bad. It was just the fact that they put him in as the main character, but for some reason they tried to make John Cryer the lead guy on that show now, even though he was the brother on the supporting character whenever Charlie Sheen was there, and it just didn't make any sense. It's just like, well, if you're going to make John Cryer the lead, then why the hell do we have Ashton Kutcher in here in the first place? But I mean, those last seasons were were not bad because of him. They were not bad because of him in particular. It was just the show itself. I mean, but that's a whole other thing altogether. But not only do you have these two, but you've got an amazing supporting cast here. You have Carrie Elways. You've got Mindy Kaling, you see in the trailer there. Greta Gerwig, this was one of her big movies that kind of broke her out into the big time before she eventually became the director that we know nowadays. Kevin Kline, can never go wrong with him. Ludacris, Olivia Thirlby from Juno, Lake Bell, you see Jake Johnson in there. I mean, this cast also includes people like Nassim Pedrad from Saturday Night Live, Ophelia Lovibon, Adil Kalian from Rules of Engagement, Abby Elliott from Saturday Night Live, and of course later on The Bear, Matthew Moy, who would later go on to star in Two Broke Girls. I mean, this was a really good cast, and they are working their best material on this movie. I mean, he really is. I mean, these people are really good in here. One of the biggest surprises to me was Ludacris, who, you know, a few months prior to this, we had Common and Just Right, who actually really showed that, hey, he's got acting chops. Ludacris in this movie I thought was really good, too. I thought he was actually one of the stronger people in the movie in particular, and I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed him in this. And yet 50 Cent still can't make a good leading performance in a movie. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to do that, but I guess it is. But it is very much a predictable romantic comedy. In a way, it's kind of reminiscent of something like a 500 Days of Summer, except for the fact that it's more mainstream in particular. It's not like an indie film like that movie was, which that started with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel, which coincidentally, I bring that up because guess who the writer of No Strings Attached was? Elizabeth Merriweather. These two would eventually come together, Zooey Deschanel and Elizabeth Merriweather, on a show that came out later in the year called New Girl, which turned out to be a really fun show, and Jake Johnson was on that show too. So, yeah, it's all coming together, like it's all coming full circle, if you will. And I like the fact that it didn't do what Due Date did. Due Date completely ripped off Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and made it nothing special and made it just feel like a poor attempt to make a raunchier Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and it failed miserably at it. This one manages to be funny with the material it's got, and it's not ripping off a bunch of other movies like Due Date did. I mean, and this is a good return to form for Ivan Reitman. I mean, here's the thing with Ivan Reitman. He's one of those great directors that I don't think gets as much attention as he does, but he did have a stretch between Dave and then up until this movie where most of the movies he was making were not great, especially the first two movies he made after Dave, which were terrible. Junior and also Father's Day. Those are some of the worst movies that came out those years. But then he did something like 6 Days, 7 Nights, which was okay, I guess. Evolution, which, if I'm being honest, is probably maybe his worst film as a director, because it was basically just a Men in Black ripoff of Ghostbusters. I mean, it was literally trying to be the next Men in Black, and that failed miserably. At least on my part, I think it did. But he did kind of return with My Super Ex-Girlfriend, which didn't get the proper respect back then, but that's actually a much funnier movie than I would have given it credit for. And I think he's back here in form here. This is actually the best thing I think he's done since Dave. And then he had one more movie as a director after this with Draft Day, which was actually a pretty good movie too, about how football teams work during the draft process. Like, it's a really good movie overall. This film I really enjoyed a lot. I think it has a very likable cast that works off each other very well. A really good supporting cast that delivers a lot of really good laughs in here. It's the best of the two Friends with Benefits movies, and because the second one, we'll get to that one later in the year, but you can just tell that definitely felt like it was ripping off this movie, and they just didn't know it at the time. But yeah, when you see this movie and then you see Friends with Benefits, I'm telling you, No Strings Attached is the far superior movie. It's the one I would go back to more. It's the one I think is much better. The chemistry in this one just works better. I like this one a lot. I really do. I think it's probably one of the best January release movies I've seen on this show in a long, long time. I mean, maybe since Cloverfield, honestly. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's that long, 3 years, but considering that we had stuff like Bride Wars and Meet the Spartans and New in Town and Paul Blart Mall Cop and Leap Year and just last week The Dilemma, this thing easily is one of the best movies to come out in the month of January in a long time for me. So, yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. No Strings Attached. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is The Way Back. Yeah, most people probably forgot this movie even existed. I know I did. I didn't even know there was a film back in 2010 called The Way Back. I know we had The Way, Way Back in 2013, and as I mentioned at the beginning, there's the Ben Affleck basketball drama, which is actually very underrated. But, no, this is actually Peter Weir's last film that he directed. I mean, he did Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, which was a great movie, and then this one doesn't get as much attention, but I think it actually is worth the watch. It's inspired by the 1956 memoir, The Long Walk, by prisoner of war I'm going to get this name wrong, Slawomir Rauritz. I probably butchered that name, but I apologize for that to the Rauritz family, but who claimed to have escaped from a Soviet gulag and walked 4,000 miles to freedom in World War II. You have a cast that includes Jim Sturgis, and I think one of his last movies where he was like the main lead. That was that time when, Across the Universe in 21 made him the big star, and then he didn't really do much since then. But you have Colin Farrell, you also have Ed Harris, and also Saoirse Ronan, who was nominated before for Atonement. I was checking just to make sure that he wasn't in another movie that Saoirse Ronan was in, Hannah, but no, that's Eric Bana that I was thinking of, but yeah, you got a good cast overall here, a good story in general, a really intriguing film, and this is the type of movie that probably would have been nominated for some Oscars. It did get an Oscar for Best Makeup nomination, but it ended up losing to The Wolfman, which, I mean, I don't know. The Wolfman, okay, the makeup work in The Wolfman wasn't bad. I mean, the CG in that film wasn't great either, but I was actually kind of surprised it actually got an Oscar for Best Makeup overall, because the makeup in general in here is good, but it's nothing really that spectacular, at least to me, but I mean, it doesn't take away from the overall enjoyment of the film. I think this film really is very well done. It's a good story. It really keeps you... It's one of those great movies like this. It kind of reminds me a lot of The Straight Story, which is a movie about, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey that this guy takes. And, you have these people going on this long journey to get away from, to get to freedom. And it's a very intriguing watch overall. And Peter Weir does a very good job, keeping this essentially in check to make it so that the audience is not bored by it almost immediately. It's a film that I think definitely is a very well-done film, a very well-made film overall, and one I do recommend checking out. It's one you probably never even heard of, but I'll tell you, it's definitely worth a find if you could seek it out there, because this one I was actually kind of surprised I really enjoyed. Yeah, not much more to say about that one, but I recommend The Way Back. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, a movie that's not called The Way Back starring Ben Affleck, but he is in it. It's called The Company Men.
It's wrong. I'll take an AK-47 to this place.
Don't get mad.
Me too?
I would love to know why you fired me without any notice.
You cowardly witch.
Don't bother re-signing my accounts. I'm gonna steal them back.
Get even in the film Entertainment Weekly is raving about.
We could make something here. Start out with a crazy plan, see if it'll grow.
Ben Affleck, Chris Cooper, Kevin Costner, Tommy Lee Jones, The Company Men.
So basically, it's the more serious version of Horrible Bosses. I mean, it's literally almost the same plot as that movie is. You have the GTX Corporation that has to cut jobs to improve the company's balance sheets during the 2010 recession. Thousands of employees will take the hit, like Bobby Walker, played by Ben Affleck. Bobby learns the real-life consequences of not having a job. Not only does he see a change to his family lifestyle and the loss of his home, but also his feelings of self-worth. And you also have a cast that, as you can see, includes several Academy Award winners, including Kevin Costner, Chris Cooper, Tommy Lee Jones. You have Maria Bello in here, Rosemary DeWitt from Mad Men, Craig T. Nelson. A pretty solid cast overall here. This is John Wells. John Wells, of course, is the same man who has been involved with a lot of TV shows, specifically ER, Third Watch, The West Wing, Southland, Shameless. Shameless was just coming on the air as this movie was coming out. And, this film really is one of those movies where it really does show what John Wells is capable of doing as a director as a whole. And this is a guy who's been on television for a long, long time. And he's made some movies that have been mixed overall. I mean, this was a good movie. August Osage County was pretty good. Burnt was kind of like a more serious version of Chef, but not really as good as it could have been. But this film overall is a very well done film. I think it is a very entertaining movie with these great actors really giving it their all here. It's kind of like a mix between both Horrible Bosses and Glengarry Glen Ross and Ray. Like, you could definitely tell that these two films kind of had an inspiration for this particular film in general. Plus, you've got the good writing and direction of Wells in particular that really makes it stand out on its own. It's a film that really is very underrated. It doesn't get as much attention I think most people give it, but it's one that I would say it's definitely worth checking out. I'm glad I found it. I thought actually I was kind of amazed at how much I enjoyed this one. So, The Company Man. Overall, certainly the best week we've had compared to the last couple of weeks we've taken a look at films. And then it's straight back to the crap again as we head to the next episode of Time About the Movies. We take a look at 4 more movies, including Anthony Hopkins starring in the horror thriller The Right. We have Jason Statham starring in The Mechanic. We have Camilla Bell and Alexa Vega starring in a Latino version of Sense and Sensibility called From Prada to Nada. And we have Alejandro González Iñárritu's latest film, Beautiful, starring Javier Bardem in his first film after No Country for Old Men, and for Alejandro González Iñárritu, it's his first film since Babel. So maybe we'll get something out of that as we head into the last week of January. Mostly going to be some bad movies, but Beautiful has a chance to possibly work. We'll take a look at that along with the other 3 films I mentioned coming up tomorrow on the show. So definitely be on the lookout for that. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Also, don't forget to hit our playlist to check out all the episodes we've done before, and also check out the last episode we did. So, with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.